I'm sure you looked at the prices of properties in Accra, both for rent and for sale, and you've wondered if you were in Accra or New York. Well, you're not imagining things and you're not alone. Accra is getting expensive, or more appropriately, Accra has become very expensive. In fact, one of the most expensive cities in Africa. And today, we're not just talking about cost for the sake of complaining. Far from that. We're not here to take a side. Instead, we're here to share a balanced view of the issues that matter. So we're diving deep into why Accra has become one of the priciest cities to live in West Africa, how real estate is at the heart of it, and most importantly, what this means for you and your future housing choices. I'm Desmond Kafui, and you're welcome to another episode of Ghana Ground Up. Now, whether you're renting, whether you're buying, building, or just planning your next move, this episode will open your eyes and help you make smarter decisions. And as we're all aware of the cliche that real estate is primarily about location, this will definitely give you some pointers to guide you. So then, let's get into it. Now, what is really happening in Accra? Let's break it down. Living in Accra today is not cheap, and in fact, to live comfortably, you need to have some serious income. And if you're still finding your footing, but then you're trying to live like a rock star, well, you may already be priced out of the game. Let's start with the case of rent. Now, if you're looking at, let's say, a decent two-bedroom apartment in prime areas like we already know, like Cantonment, East Legon, and all that, be prepared to pay anywhere from about $800 to upwards of $2,000 a month. And yes, it's quoted in dollars, even for Ghanaians. Now, most landlords prefer hard currency to protect their value against the ever-fluctuating Ghana cedi. Now, another thing we need to consider is utilities. Now, water from Ghana Water Company is not reliable in many areas, and it's hard to find places where they have their taps running every day. Most likely you're going to find a place that has water maybe once or twice a week, and a lot of people have to rely on water from water tanker services or some boreholes. And if we add electricity, which costs quite a bit already, anywhere from, let's say, 200 cedis a month to about 1,000 cedis a month for a household, especially if you're using air conditioners or maybe a generator, you are already feeling the heat even before you step out into the blazing sun. And according to the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, the tariffs on utilities will be going up very soon, and electricity is going to probably be up about 15%, and the tariffs on water will go up about 4%. So as you can see, the heat is on. Now, let's talk about transportation. Fuel prices have been going up like hikers climbing a mountain, and regardless of what you may say or what anybody else may say, I don't think we have an efficient public transport system. Many people have to rely on private cars or on ride-hailing services like Uber and Bolt, and even those taking Trotsky are not left out. Fares have gone up too, and everyone is feeling the pinch. Now, what about food? Well, the story isn't quite different here. Whether you're buying from, let's say, a supermarket or a local market, prices are still very unfriendly. And a family of four can end up spending between, let's say, 1,500 cedis a month to about 3,000 cedis a month just on groceries. So when we say Accra is expensive, we mean it's starting to price out even the middle class, and you need some serious money to be comfortable here in the city. Now, at the heart of all this rising costs of living in Accra is real estate. So let's talk about it. One of the main headaches for many is dollarization. And you see that most properties in Accra's prime areas are priced in US dollars. Now consider this. As of today, $1 is going for about 14.5 Ghana cedis. That means that a property that is renting for $1,000 a month is actually renting for 14,500 Ghana cedis a month. I'll leave the rest for you to calculate. But to rent a property for over 10,000 Ghana cedis a month, well, words fail me. So why are developers pricing their properties in dollars? Well, simply because they are trying to protect themselves from currency depreciation. And it makes sense for them. And imagine that as a developer, it costs you hard cash to build your property, and you have to import materials and fixtures and all that. And this introduces the issue of the foreign currency, aka the dollar. If you price a property in Ghana cedis, and let's say you quote 10,000 cedis for the property. Now, this 10,000 cedis is equivalent to about $690 as of today. And you'd see that as the value of a cedi keeps fluctuating against the dollar, the developer cannot keep adjusting the prices of the properties day in, day out. So they would rather quote that price in dollars, and this takes away the issue of the currency fluctuations and then all the intricacies that come with it. So they don't have to be adjusting the prices back and forth and all that. Unfortunately, when people price or when developers price their properties in dollars, it pushes the average Ghanaian out of the property market. And this is what a lot of people are complaining about. Beyond the issue of dollarization, there's also the issue of a gap between demand and supply. Now, most people want homes in Accra more than there are homes available. The population in Accra is growing, and in 2023, the population of Accra was around 2,660,000, and in 2024, that number rose to 2,721,000, which is about a 2.3% increase. We're probably going to hit at least 2.8 million people by the end of this year, and this implies that urbanization is accelerating, but for affordable housing, nope, we're not seeing a change in that. Affordable housing is not keeping up, and this is one of the major headaches for a lot of people because there is a huge undersupply of affordable housing in Accra. So the focus is on the Greater Accra region and Accra specifically. And with all these activities in the region, the market is also actively responding and adapting. And this introduces the case of speculative buying, where people buy properties not to live in them, but then they just want to hold them as investments. So apartments will end up staying empty while their prices keep going up. And it's like buying a piece of silver and telling everyone that that piece of silver is gold. Now, it's clear that is speculation, and some people will actually end up believing that hype, and suddenly you see that the market will respond and gold prices will go up. Imagine this is the case for real estate. This is what's happening, and this is what we have to deal with. Central to the real estate market in Accra is the influx of diaspora and foreign investors who are coming into the market with stronger currencies. And by stronger currencies, definitely the dollar is ranking up there. And they're snapping up properties, and not just any properties, but prime properties. And this is creating some sort of notion that all the prime properties are selling. And with this sense of demand, other properties will end up going up in price because developers will have this sense that once you build, people will buy, because definitely there has been some proof or some track record that those who have built have sold. So you'd end up seeing developers who end up gearing towards more of the prime properties, and they do this in the hope that they would sell. And this is as a result of the influx of monies coming from the diaspora and also foreign investments. And this is great for developers, but then it's not so great for the average Ghanaian who's trying to get a foot in the property market, or probably get their foot on property ladder. What then is the bottom line? Well, the housing market in Accra is geared toward people who treat property like an asset and not a home. So if you're looking for a home in Accra, well, you're kind of swimming against the tide, because most of the people who are buying in the market are buying for investment purposes, and you have fewer people actually buying to live in. So based on where you stand, you'd see that either the tide is for you or the tide is against you. Now, let's bring this home. Let's get very personal. If you earn 2,000 to, let's say, 5,000 cedis a month, which is a decent salary for many professionals, you're still priced out of the, many of the neighborhoods in Accra. And if you're renting, let's say, a decent two-bedroom apartment, you could end up spending maybe anywhere between 40 to 60% of your income on rent. And that is before things like utilities, food, and transportation. And if you would rather probably want to buy a house, you may end up having to forget it, because unless you have some big savings somewhere or get help from family, or probably you chance on a rare mortgage option, which, let's be honest, I mean, it's really hard to qualify for, and also much harder to repay. If you chance on such options, well, then you have a good chance. But then beyond that, for many people, unfortunately, the goal of owning a property in Accra is more of a very distant dream, one that will take many years, and probably not even in their lifetime. A very sad reality, but then these are some of the things that we have to put up with the current state of the city that we all love. Let's say you're not buying, but then you'd want to build. Building itself is not even easy anymore, and you'd see that land in Accra can cost anywhere from, let's say, 100,000 cedis all the way up to millions of Ghana cedis. And let's not even talk about the prices of building materials, because, I mean, truth be told, they keep jumping like the cedi on a forex chart. So then, what is happening in Accra? Now, beyond the perfect imagery of urbanization, people are beginning to move further out of prime Accra. People are moving to places like Oibi, Amasaman, Kaswa, Pram, and all that. But commuting into town has become a daily battle. You have to deal with traffic, the cost of fuel, and the general wear and tear of your vehicle. Now, this is not just a real estate issue, it's a quality of life issue, because when most people live very far from their jobs, when they live far from schools and hospitals and all that, it affects everything from, let's say, productivity all the way to mental health. Let's be fair. There are people who are doing very well in this new Accra. There are those who are earning in dollars, there are business owners, high salary professionals, and early investors who are riding the waves comfortably. Now, for those people, Accra is seeing transformation which represents opportunity, lifestyle, and global level development for them. And truthfully, the city has improved in many ways. We have better roads, we have more entertainment options, and real estate has also risen up to meet international standards. But then the issue really is access. The question is whether the average Ghanaian is being carried along, or if the average Ghanaian is being simply priced out of the market. So you may ask, based on what's happening in Accra, where are we heading? Well, if nothing changes, here's what we can expect. We're likely to see gentrification. And this is a case where old communities are upgraded for the rich, while long-term residents end up getting priced out of the market. Now, based on comments and feedback on some of the recent episodes that we published, many people are of the view that gentrification has already taken root in Accra and is becoming very overwhelming. We'll definitely make time for this subject of gentrification and dedicate an entire episode to it, and you want to definitely stay tuned. So do well to subscribe if you already haven't, so you'll be among the first people to catch up on the new episodes we'll be publishing. Moving on, if things remain the same, we'll end up seeing a case of urban sprawl. Now, this is a case where the city stretches far and wide, such that the boundaries of the Accra we are used to will now extend far and wide, and this will make commuting times longer and also public services harder to manage. Now, you see a classic case of this happening in Community 25, where the current places which are now considered part of Community 25 used to be on the outskirts of Community 25. So you'd see that suddenly a place that used to be very small now is bigger, bearing the same name, and the people in that area will have to probably make do with all the amenities and the utilities and everything that is available formerly to that small area. Now a bigger group of people have to settle for what is available. That places a lot of stress on the infrastructure there, and it creates issues. But then in the end, it's one of the things that we have to put up with once urbanization is on the ascent. Still on the future outlook, if nothing changes, there's a big potential for a housing bubble, where you have a case where too many overpriced properties will sit on the market empty, and then the demand that people are really craving for will still be unmet. And know that the real demand in Accra is not luxury properties. Many people just want affordable accommodation, both to own and also to rent. This housing bubble subject is on the lips of many onlookers and even experts in the space, and the alarm bells are ringing and they're sounding louder now more than ever. Finally, we may see a deepening affordability crisis, where you have a case where young people simply just give up on the dream of owning a property in Accra or even renting a decent home in the capital. And unfortunately, this is a very sad case, a very sad situation, because when you look at it, when you go to places like East Legon, Airport Residential, cantonments and all that, and you see all the beautiful cars, you see all the beautiful apartments and all the beautiful houses, all the luxury living going on and all that, a lot of people really desire and wish to partake in all these things. But then when you look at the cost of real estate, it is sort of a deterrent, or probably just makes people give up, and they don't even see themselves ever living such dreams anymore. It's really sad, but then this is one of the things that we have to deal with the current state of the surge in development and also the current state of the market in Accra. Accra could become a city of two extremes. One could be a case where there are those who can afford to live well, and then there will be those who just pass through it, hoping for better days. So considering all that we've touched on, what can be done, or what should be done about the present situations? Let's talk solutions. For government and policymakers, we need serious affordable housing programs, not just pilot projects that never reach anywhere or probably that never scale up. And we don't want to have another Saglemi housing project that doesn't translate to meaningful impacts on the ground. Now, the government also needs to regulate foreign property investment in a very reasonable way without chasing away much needed capital. I believe a very good initiative would be for the government to create more rent-to-own housing options and ones that actually work for the average Ghanaian. Because when you look at it, many Ghanaians are in the public sector, and once you are there, similar to, let's say, when they take loans and all that, everything is deducted from source. So when you have a housing option, which is rent to own, that is rented for an extended period of time, and the rent you end up paying goes to offset the cost of the property so that eventually you can own that property. Now imagine this is done for many of the people who are in the public sector who need decent accommodation. You have affordable housing schemes that are sorted out properly, and with these affordable housing options, they are given out to those who can take them on using the rent to own option. And with the rent to own option, they don't have to stress themselves. The government can just deduct a certain percentage of their salaries from source. And over time, these people will end up owning properties of their own, whether they sort of like it or not. It's not like you're pushing it on them, but then really you're encouraging them to become property owners, just like the government has policies in place for your SNIT and your pension schemes and all that. One more thing I think the government can do is to invest in infrastructure beyond the city center so that more people can live further out of the city without losing easy access to the city. For example, if the road from, let's say, Tama Roundabout all the way through to Pram and beyond Pram was good and dualized, I believe that the persisting traffic condition on that stretch would be a thing of the past, and people would end up being able to move in and out with ease and also speed. So you can see that good infrastructure makes a huge difference. So I believe that the government can do more and do better. And hopefully we have more roads that are constructed, better access, all these issues of flooding and all these things are just, taken care of. And we can all live in peace, have a peace of mind, and also live in some decent accommodation. Now, for you and me, what can we do? I believe that we have to budget realistically. Now, you may not live in East Legon today, but then maybe the place that will work for you would be OEB or maybe some other place, and that would be the best move for you. So do well to settle for what works for you in the short term, but then don't keep your eyes off the long term. That is your dream. If you want to live in East Legon, don't keep your eyes off that dream. Short term for now, get a good place that works for you, but then you can plan for the long term and work towards it. And in line with this, I believe that we need to look for areas with long-term growth potential and not just the popular locations that we are aware of. So it's not just about, let's say, Pram. It's not just about Dodowa. There are other places beyond these locations that we keep mentioning back and forth. So it's up to you to do your research and find a good place and a good spot that will work for you without breaking your bank. Another good consideration would be to team up with, let's say, family or trusted friends, where you can co-invest in land or property and then you end up building and rising up together. Most importantly, stay informed, know your numbers, and also know your options. The more you know, the better you can position yourself. Let's face it, Accra is changing, and that is not a bad thing. Growth is good and development is necessary. We can't do without it. But then the goal is inclusive growth, where more people can afford to live decently and not just end up surviving. But knowledge is power. And if you understand the system, you can work it to your advantage. So don't let the prices scare you. Let them rather sharpen your strategy and let them also push you to plan smarter. And you end up moving with intention and end up building a life that works for you. If this episode opened your eyes or gave you something to think about, drop a like, do well to subscribe as well, and share this episode with someone who needs this information and this truth. And tell me, do you think Accra is becoming too expensive? What has been your experience and how are you coping? Let's talk in the comments. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm Desmond Kafui and this is Ghana Ground Up. I'll see you in the next one.